Mamdani and many of his supporters are proud democratic socialists.
Yes.
What do you think of democratic socialism as a set of policies for New York City at this time?
Yeah, great question. And 70% of New Yorkers are not anti the term socialism. And many people don't really understand the term socialism and what it means. You know, I've been to Cuba, I've been to Venezuela, I've been to countries where socialism exists. I saw the empty shelves in the ration books in Cuba and what it means. So we're romanticizing the terminology, and it always sounds good, you know, that, you know, I'm a socialist. But when you dig into what it means, you understand. When you get stuff for free, someone is paying for it. And so that delivery worker who's giving us 12 hours on that bike or moped delivering food, people who are getting things for free, that delivery worker is paying taxes. So all these things that when you are really frustrated, you have a tendency to believe that what he is selling, he could deliver, and he can't. Just look at the free bus conversation. In order to get free buses, you need $3 billion. He says, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tax the 1%ers in New York, and I'm going to get the $3 billion from them. Here's the problem. Mayors can't raise income taxes. Assemblyman can. He's an assemblyman. He didn't do it. So why does he believe he's going to do it now when the governor said that is not going to happen? Or his socialist theory of let's open government supermarkets. Hey, what about the bodegas, brother? What about those men and women in the Korean community that open up supermarkets, that open up stores? What about the Chinese community or the Arab community? All of these communities have used their feeding of their constituencies as a way to hire people and to move up in the American dream. So we're going to totally disregard them and collapse an entire industry? Or look at this great socialist idea of emptying Rikers Island. We passed bail reform. So to get on Rikers Island, you have to be one of the most dangerous people in the city of rape, robbery, homicides, murders. 7,400 people are there. His mindset is, we're going to close down Rikers and put them back into the communities. They're going to go back into the black and brown communities where they victimized for years. When you think about the theory, this is an intellectual elitist that is actually doing some form of experiment. And I'm saying we need real experience to get this done.
So one of Zohran Mamdani's policy proposals is to freeze rent on rent-stabilized units in New York, which is, you know, something like 40-50% of rental units. That's his plan for the affordability crisis. What, if anything, is wrong with that plan, and what's your plan, and what's your record?
I love that. First of all, mayors don't have absolute power to freeze rents. There's something called the Independent Rent Guideline Board. They determine, based on analysis of data, how much prices go up. They make a determination on that. That is their job. If the city charter wanted the mayor to have that, they would have just given it to the mayor. The mayor did make the determination. No, there's a separate board that they would do an analysis to determine the increases of rent. You can make recommendations, you could lobby for a lower, but there's a separate board that does that. But let's take his analysis of no rent. Don't ever increase rent. You should never increase rent. You got Miss Jones, came from Jamaica, and she has a 14-unit building. All of her wealth is in that, because black and brown and immigrant people, your wealth is in your property. All of my wealth is in my brownstone that I was able to pay my son's college tuition. So now Ms. Jones has the building. He was part of the same group of people that was during COVID saying no rent. You know, there should be a rent freeze. No one should be paying rent. Now he's saying don't even give her a 1 or 2% increase. Con Edison is going up. Insurance is going up. Taxes on that property is going up. She has tenants in her building who's not paying all the time. So now we have a family of overwhelmingly immigrants, overwhelmingly black and brown, overwhelmingly working class people. Now we have this family who can't keep up with the cost of their building. The number of of families who have lost their properties because the rent roll is not equaling the cost of running the building. I have a tenant in my building, almost 6 months has not paid rent. You know, I'm fortunate enough that I can still hold on to it. But imagine that mother, that Jamaican mother, that Trinidadian mother, that Mexican family, that person from Ireland or whatever. All your wealth is being tied up, and you're being told, I don't care what goes up around you. I don't care that roof repair has to be done, that you have to maintain the quality of life in that apartment. You cannot raise rent. That just doesn't make sense. It's going to go back to the 70s. In the 70s, the same thing happened. Landlords' rent rolls did not equal the cost of repair, and they walked away from the buildings, and black and brown communities were devastated because of that, because people were not keeping up with the repairs. You saw rodent issues, you saw drug uses in the buildings, you saw the quality of life go down in communities of color because of that. So it sounds good. This academic elitist exercise of no one should ever increase the rent, that sounds good, but that is not a practical way of running a city.
Yeah, I mean, your answer kind of had two parts there. The first part was taking the point of view of landlords, which is valid, but I think a lot of people emotionally, they just don't care about landlords.
Right,
so they're like, world's smallest violin for that. But then the second part of your answer, I think, is the more important part, which is that, and if you've taken an economics class in high school or college, you'll remember this. It's like you put a price ceiling on apartments. The landlord isn't just going to roll over and act the same way. What they're going to do is they're going to stop maintaining your apartment. Exactly. They're going to stop repairing your apartment. And not only that, in the half of the rental market that is not rent stabilized, all of those rents are going to go up somewhat because you're artificially tampering with the prices in the other half of the market. So like my rent's going to go up.
Right. And go back to, because something you said is very important. You're right. You know, small violin for a landlord, because we have mystifying landlords. We use the large landlords, 2,000, 3,000 apartments. That is his definition of a landlord. His definition of landlord is not who I have met. The people who have come here to this country and just bought into the American dream, and they struggled, they worked hard, and they have these, 14-unit buildings, 17-unit buildings, and that's their life. All of that pride in that. So when he thinks of landlords, he thinks of the multi-billion landlords. He's not thinking of the landlords who are just eking out a living, and they're scared. And I'll never forget this woman coming into my office when I was borough president. She was in tears because of the trauma. She was losing her home because the Albany and others were saying no rent. No one was telling mortgage companies no mortgage. We're hurting middle class, working class people.